So, here we go. This is not a live commentary. That's important to say. I guess didn't want to comment while playing because this game has some really bad stuff, and really bad stuff can happen if you're not in concentration mode. So I decided to comment it afterwards. So this is the first trick you do, basically getting damaged by these flowers and then dying, immediately swap back to the dog and go to the next screen. This skips this little cutscene where these raptors are coming from the bushes and attacking you and stuff. And yeah, that's what we do, and this is the biggest RNG part. Luckily at the first section of the game, so you can reset immediately after failing getting bad RNG and stuff. And here I got blocked by this fat guy. I will just make small comments on stuff that's important for the run. Here we take some talents we need, and clay. We need at least, or like how I play, we need 16 clay for the first, nah, not 16, 14 for the first boss. And that's why I always pick up some clays at some specific spots where I know there are some clay parts that does not take too much of the time waste. And I I used the behavior options to put them both to defensive. That's important for the boss of at the end of Act 1, I guess. Yes. And yeah, I will come to that afterwards when we are arriving there. And we need to kill one flower and these 18 talents we got in this house, in this village, to buy one of these leaves, ceiling leaf stuff, and then selling it, and the one we got at the beginning, and this nectar for some more talents, and we need them. We need exactly 120, like as we got in the next section here, in these swamps, for 12 crystals, because they're important. We need them, trust me. So yes, we got hardballs here, the one of the most important spells in the speedrunning of this game. And here we use the dog because his movement is slightly faster than the boy's one. Don't know why, it's just in Act 1 and in Act 4. Act 2 and Act 3 dogs are way slower than this one, so we use it at some parts here in this dungeon. Let's call it dungeon. There would also be a skip, we call it big bug maze skip, where you use the dog and switch between dog and boy when you jump with the dog. So you jump over two triggers which normally make the way break away, so that you can't pass the right way of the maze, and this is slightly faster than going through the maze casually as I did, but I do it because there are already enough reasons to reset and it's too annoying for me. And this boss is not too bad in running, just throwing 6 hardballs at him while playing the dog, because while you're playing the dog you can go to the boy's ring menu and can spam spells. Normally when you're playing the boy you can just use one spell at a time. Here we use the boy, go to 0 HP, are dead, and then we're still alive because if we swap back to the dog fast enough, and using the ring mini of the boy, he doesn't die there for whatever reason, so we use that so the boy is completely safe there. But the point is, when we use 14 hardballs as I did, then we have I don't remember, I guess 70% chance that we kill the boss, and if we're unlucky we can just reset because we won't beat him because of too low damage rules and stuff. You could also do them with only 12 hardballs, but this is like 40 to 50% chance of doing good, so that's too much of a risk for me. And another thing, as you see, when the bar under the VHP are like down to 0% or 1%, you can just spam the running button. That's, I can't explain the reason because I don't understand it myself, but for whatever reason you're still pretty fast because it's the way it reloads or something. So just spam it when it's like 0-1%, as you can see. Much faster than just waiting for it to fill back to 99% until you start running again. So we want to let me go. We want to use 20 hardballs before the next boss, and so I used 6 more on a random enemy. That we totally used 20 hardballs now. That's because of the way the damage works, and the level up of the hardballs will happen in between the spams while the next boss fight. And that's normally the way we get the next boss without its biggest attack in between. Because how the next boss works is, at some points when his HP goes to a certain number, I don't know the number, but then he uses Heat Wave. It costs like 6 seconds and it does a ton of damage, and when everything works fine, we use 8 hardballs, then we use 8 hardballs again and 8 hardballs again, and then we use 8 hardballs and 8 times the magic spell we just got here. And then he should die without using the Seed Wave, but this is just the case when we use it 20 times before the boss fight starts. And here we get one of the most important spells in the game. Basically to break the whole game later in Act 2. So I had to close my window, sorry for that. Here we have to be lucky that they don't eat us. It costs like 5 seconds or something, I don't know exactly. I'm not the pro at this game. I started running it 1 week ago, so I'm really happy with this result so far. Here we place them as far to the south as possible, have the enemies in the way, and we just open the dog's menu while we're playing the boy, and so we can pass through certain objects, enemies, despawn enemies, pass through these rocks and stuff, because that's just the way this game works. When there's a lot of stuff like sprites in the way when you're going to the dog and then back, you can just pass some spots. So it's kind of broken, this mechanic using both characters. and the next boss. And because of the swing menu stuff, we just skipped like so much. We skipped the whole swamp. Some spells, you had to get a pepper to move the rocks and stuff, and this is just brutal and a huge game break, this part. So we're under leveled as fuck. And going into the dog string menu and using something that fades the screen to black, we can just spam again after all our projectiles hit the enemy. So this was the third time 8. So now we want to do 8 and 8 times this magic pearl. It's called the. And it's pretty hard to spam it that much. So as you saw, I just messed around and fucked it up. That's the heat wave I was talking about, and yeah, here's the dog dead. That's a major mistake. Not good at all. But it worked out. I'm losing very much time. There was a huge mistake in the run. But I just thought about, let's give it a try. Let's not reset, because I hate Act 1. Act 1 is basically the biggest RNG part of the entire game, and basically, like, for me, it's the hardest part of running this game, because yeah, I'm underleveled as fuck, and so much RNG. The flowers before the raptor skip are totally RNG at the beginning. The first boss, certain enemies in the way, and this boss, and yeah. So I just don't want to do that over and over again for now. And I hope it's not that annoying that I explain all the stuff, because I don't think you will just try speedrunning this game, and that's I'm not kidding, it's difficult. It's really difficult. I did not think it's that difficult, because when you're just watching this game, you don't know how much mechanic is hidden between this, and swapping between the boy and the dog and stuff. Here we use the string menu for pause buffering, and at the right point where we're entering, it's like only some low frames we have between there, where we have to hit the select button to swap to the dog, because for whatever reason the developers have put the dog in here. And the second part of the skip is putting boy to aggressive, and then he will just move over the gap after attacking an enemy or getting attacked. And this makes us skip a cutscene. And this thing in the desert here is a pretty easy skip. The developers used it to pass the desert, because it was easier to test the game then. So, and they somehow forgot to take it out. That's stupid stuff. Now, an important thing. After entering the city and the market, 15 or like around 15-minute timer gets triggered, and after these 15 minutes an event will happen that brings us further in the game, and there's no way to skip these 15 minutes, so we will do some important stuff in these 15 minutes, like buying stuff and buying more stuff and killing some or many enemies, reaching a high level, getting an item and stuff. But while these 50 minutes, we are not allowed to switch screens too often, because always when the screen fades to black, you lose some seconds. Or when you are opening the ring menu or buying something and stuff, the timer is just stacking there where it was, because it's kind of game pausing when you're just in a menu and stuff. So you don't want that happen too often. And now I'm doing this cutscene, which we just skipped because we have to do that, and we get Crush spell after this, and this is one of the most important spells too. And we got Atlas, and we bought some wings and the pixie dust, or I don't know how it's called, I guess pixie dust. And we need these items and the defend we got in Act 1 to trigger a huge glitch that will make us invincible and stronger than anyone in this game. So what we want to get is a spider in this desert to hit us, and there's a small percentage chance that we get poisoned. That's the first thing we want to get, and when we get poisoned, we go to this oasis to get healed back to full life, and then run as fast as we can to the screen south of us. And the next thing we want is the monk enemy, that's the magician over there with this violet clothing and stuff. You will see him, I will get hit by him. And if he hits us, we have another small chance of getting, I don't know how it's called, confused, or I don't know what the name was, but it's another kind of poison, or confuse. He can give us 2 different status effects if he hits us. And well, that's a huge RNG part, because poison is not often happening, and there's other stuff too. And because we have not many HP, we can just try that by getting hit once or twice by him. Otherwise it's too dangerous and we could die. And after we got a status effect by him, we have 2 negative status effects on our character. And after that we wanna use the pixie dust, which revives us after we die. And then using the shield spell, and after that the Atlas spell, which is the strange spell we got also after the market. And then we want to die after getting hit. That's a huge to-do list, but trust me, it's worth a try. You could just try playing it casually, it's just insane and fun. And we are not allowed to die at this poison or the other poison we get, otherwise the glitch won't be triggered for whatever reason. And our negative status effects are not allowed to go away. Yes, unless we die by another enemy. And then, if it works right and we got it, then we trigger the glitch where we're just invincible. No enemy can hit us for the rest of the game, and yeah, we deal tons of damage. Only when we miss enemies, which is likely to happen, or if we crit an enemy, they won't die. But other than that, we just deal like 999 damage each hit, or around that. So I'm having a rough time here with trying to get poisoned, because these guys just don't wanna. But it's not that big of a deal, because, you know, we have 15 minutes, the timer, invisible timer, and it started 1356. That's the reason why this skip split is so important for me, that I can just like estimate when the timer is running out. So I want to be back at the market when this timer runs out. Wow, I don't remember that it took such a long time to get poisoned a second time. That's crazy. Normally it does not take too much of a time. But I'm sure I got it, otherwise I wouldn't have PB'd. Ah, here it is. So we just try to get it now. And we got the confused thing. So our controls are reversed now. Using all the stuff I explained. And then trying to get killed by one hit. And we got it. And as you see, we are fucking insane now. So now we have some minutes left of the timer in which we will just kill as many enemies as possible. Because we want... Well, our level is not too much of importance, but it's more important to get some money, and we will get enough money by killing a bunch of these. Trust me. And this was a crit, these 21. It's because we have so much damage in our status that a crit makes the damage bar goes out and it starts from the beginning. So that's why a crit deals less damage than anything else. So. And our 100% loaded attack will deal no damage. So we'll just attack them with less than 100 and hope for no crits. That's also some RNG. And not too many misses. I almost forgot. I mostly go to level 11 or level 12 while grinding here. But I got this glitch pretty late, so I won't grind too much, I guess. I'm not sure. So as you can see at the splits, the timer got triggered like 10 minutes ago around. So we know we have like 4.5 or 5 minutes left until we have to go to the market. Otherwise we lose time because the event is already triggered. But I'll go a little bit earlier back because we will do some more stuff at the market, some trading stuff, to get an item which will allow us to have a higher chance of not missing our basic attacks, so we won't miss too many more attacks after that. And that's based on how many levels we gain, so that's another reason for grinding the desert. Because we want to make the RNG factor as low as somehow possible for us. Because nobody likes it. And another thing I'm going to do now is buying all the ingredients which we need for our magic for the rest of the game. Normally we only need this crush attack for 47 times, but I mostly buy more, because if we get bad RNG we need some more than 47, like around 50, so I mostly buy 50 or more. But as I said, while we are in the ring menu, the timer stops for this time, so we have to buy it as fast as we can. And we got one specific amulet that we can use for going through the desert without needing too much time. We go to the skeleton guy and he brings us through, but we don't need it for that. We will just take it for the beginning of Act 3, where we need one to enter a specific show. We need to go on with the game. Now after you did everything you have to do, triggering the glitch, getting all the stuff you need, you will just wait there until the event triggers, and you will know that by hearing a specific audio cue, and this cue tells you that it's time to go to the right, and the screen freezes for 1 to 2 seconds. Well, I guess it's 1 second. And that makes you notice it's time to go. So now there's nothing special to explain, I guess. Just mashing the texts and not saving here, because you could potentially run this game with saves, but after triggering this glitch you should not save or reload a save, because if you reload a save after that, the glitch is gone, so you would have to trigger it again. And we have to wait here a specific time, so there's no reason for not getting these items. And yeah, I didn't mention yet, the world record of this game is 1 hour, 16 minutes and 51 seconds. I think that was right. Yeah, exciting stuff. It's just annoying always mashing this text away. And now the skip from top to bottom is easier, because after these works you just swap back to the dock if you just place them at the beginning of the screen, and for whatever reason the screen will just start scrolling down and you have to move up with the dock then, and he just leaves the desert to the downer exit. And we will swap the boy back to defensive because of a little trick later in the next dungeon, where we will leash the dog over a trigger, like controlling the dog and then switching back to the boy immediately after going to a specific direction. The dog will just continue moving this direction for some more steps, and this is the way we can just go over trigger. That's, by the way, also the thing we did in the first village, in the beginning of the game. We just passed this guard with leashing the dog over trigger. And we will do that later again in Act 2, which skips a whole section of the game. And we place the dog at the beginning without moving, and can swap back to him and just run out of the room. No backtrack. Here we're using 8 crushes, because our goal is to use crush 10 times before the boss of Act 2, before Akragoth. And that's because Crush will reach level 1 after using it 10 times, and that's important. The old route was using Crush 56 times before this boss to reach Crush level 6, but this is so much slower than just using it 10 times. Because Akragoth and the Verminator later in Act 3 are the only two bosses in the game which are immune against melee attacks. So we would have to throw the spear or something, or the bazooka we get later. Or we have to use magic, and so we use Crush. And I didn't mention yet, but we always move diagonals with the boy because it's much faster than moving up or left or right or down. And now the boy is the fastest thing to go because for whatever reason, when the boy has the spear equipped or any spear equipped, he moves faster than with any other weapon. Don't know why, because I'm not an expert, but we just used that and move as many diagonals as we can, and always with the spear when we don't have to equip some special weapons. Poor dog. Oh, and he gets poisoned. He is not allowed to die, and luckily we got this level up because we have to control the dog a lot in this dungeon, or like 2 or 3 times. And if he's dead, we can still control him, but it's so much slower because we can't run anymore and we can't attack when he's dead, so we won't let him die. Oh my god, I hate these guys. Everybody hates them because they're just so hard to kill. Like, I mean it. And I got a biscuit for safety. The biscuit can revive the dog when he's dead, because I always like to have 1 or 2. Now I have 2 because in Act 1 I got 1 after the first boss, because it's so important to skip some stuff, and when the dog is dead you can't do that, so I always like to have 2. Yeah, and don't tell me I'm doing this dungeon awfully right now. I know! And we swap to the dog and run to the door where we will get him out. Where this it's getting weapon scene animation, because we can't move there anyway, so Why not moving the dog? And when done right, we can just skip it, this confusing animation, by going to the dog's fading out menu again. And that's slightly faster. So now, an important thing, we got 2 diamond eyes from both of these dungeons. One, and there would be a trigger at the end of the screen with a little cutscene, and the sky coming in green would steal our diamond eyes, but we leashed the dog over the trigger, so we keep our 2 diamond eyes in our inventory, so later in Act 3, where we need the 2 diamond eyes, we don't have to travel back to a little extra dungeon to get them, so that's pretty good. So that means if you fail this trick to move over the trigger, you can just immediately go resetting, because why not? I just want to drink something. Well, at the beginning of the run, money is so important, and after this glitch and getting the stuff you need for crush formula, so there, money is so unimportant. And now we're doing the stock desert skip again, because the desert sucks and the skip is easy, so I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Yeah, and coming up now is this boss I talked about, where you can't use your melee attacks to damage him, and that's a huge problem because main source of energy and damage is our melee weapon because of the glitch. So the glitch can't help us now. Only the invincibility, but the damage is just low, so we have to use our crush. And if we're not unlucky with the damage rolls, we need 7 crush on the enemy, fade the screen out with the dog using 7 crush again, fade the screen out, and then using 7 crush and 6 flares from fire ice spells. And that should be enough to kill him, otherwise we have to use 2 more crush for safety. And that's the reason why I always buy more ingredients than I have to. And don't use crush 8 times here, because it will crush your game. Three, 4, 5, 6. And normally we move up before the boss dies, so we don't have to watch the character walking in nearly slow motion here in the scene. But I did not do that because the run I did before died to this boss because I moved up too early, and the boss didn't die by the crush, so I tried to crush him again, but it's not possible from up there, and it was shit. And I lost so much time because I was confused and angry then, and I was like that. And yeah, sometimes when jumping out of there, the boy just moves up because he moves before he moves to this guy, and it costs some time, but you can't influence that by something. It's just random again. And later in the game there's a part where a king moves before you, and if you're unlucky he moves a slower part than he normally does, and this part is like 9 to 10 seconds slower, so you're gonna lose 10 seconds because of RNG, because some RNG you can influence, because it's just happening. Not fair at all, but that happens. Not too often, but it happens often enough to be mad about that. And here we move a slow, long way around him and talk to him from behind. Otherwise, we move into a trigger where he just tells the people, "Hey, come here, the freak show, blah 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 blah." And that's pretty slow. So now some story for you, enjoy. I will make comments on that, it's just annoying after seeing it way too often. he moves slow as fuck. But luckily Act 3 is the only act with really much text and many cutscenes. Act 2 had some in it too, yes, but it's not that much, and Act 1 is not that much too, because we skipped some stuff and so it's not too annoying. And here we have a small frame window where we can just use inputs after the text before a cutscene starts, which leads to this whole labyrinth dog stuff where he escapes from the kitchen and so on. That's annoying and it takes much time, and we can just skip that while mashing the running button. And this will make the text boxes go away, and we'll just run out of the room and the cutscene won't happen, and we can go back to the room and they're all gone. There the time goes away. Sadness. And another interesting thing is, if you use these wings, which normally leads you out of a dungeon, if you use them like in the forest or in some room that's not a single dungeon, then there will be the text "it didn't work" and the enemies won't notice you. They won't attack you, they won't stay in your ways for some reason. It's a nice bug we use 3 times in the run. That was the first one. And that's the Dark Forest. It's just a patient and memory test, I guess. A huge memory test, because there are 2 parts of this forest, but the second part is not even half as long as this part. It's pretty short, but this one is insanely long. So you go right again, going down, going right, and then we are finally arrived at the boss. We want to kill them when they're spawning, otherwise they can just run away, and this is awful because it takes so much time. And we got a gold split. Gold, 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 gold. And I finally did this forest completely well in my PB. Because mostly at least one part is fucked up. Or one boss. Or I just forget the way or something. And that's unlucky, you can't do something about that. It happens. Don't be too angry. I was myself, but you shouldn't. That's just the way the game wants you to show you're important to it. And for whatever reason, I wasn't able to hit the spider or this raptor. You can imagine if I lose time or not when you see that my last PB had a gold split here. And that's the casual nightmare boss. But here we just spam 8 crush, fade the screen out, and then we spam 8 crush and 3 flare fire ice. little fight and just hoping for not too many misses and not too often missing them without getting a miss like I did. That fight was pretty awful compared to how it normally goes. I don't know what kind of X this is. Making these rocks explode. So we won't go too close to this enemy, otherwise he just grabs us and throws us down and we lose tons of time. Ah, some more text boxes. Yay. So we're gonna get the Muppet Show. Or the Puppet Show, I don't know. It's almost the same, I don't know. So, just hoping for no misses and that they don't escape to directions that are far away from us. And now the scene I was talking about in the next room where we escape automatically. That's just a cutscene. The king can go the upper way around, and he does it in my run. That's good. And that loses us 9 seconds. And that's crap because we can't do anything about it. We lost 9 seconds for no reason. Thank you, King. Thank you so much. Run would have been 9 seconds faster. So finally we're gonna fly, yeah, 10 minutes before the game is ending. Well, just kidding, normally the game would just go so much longer. And now something interesting will happen. Because normally we would have to fly to the volcano, get one piece, so funny, got one item he wants, and then going back to where the first boss was, tracks, I don't know how he's spelled, and get another item, and going somewhere back, getting the diamond eyes. We already got the diamond eyes in our inventory because of this trigger leash skip in Act 2. And we won't get both parts. We will get this part we are going to take at the volcano. We will get it twice. Because of something the developers just programmed in the wrong way. It checks your items you got in a wrong or a pretty weird kind. And that was a sloppy switch. Alright. The mighty Magmar. And in case you wondered, these 83 attempts on the splits are not actually attempts. Like 40 of them are resets, or 45 to 50 are resets at the first split, where you have to get good damage by these flowers. And like 20 more are deaths at the first boss, on the way to the first boss, or the magma boss. So we actually only got like 15 real attempts over Act 1. And we don't need the plane any longer, so we just land on the upper right corner, and for whatever reason it disappears. Just a bug again. Not the first one so far. And we lost no time. But you remember the 9 seconds the king stole us because of his stupid movement pattern this time. So like we saved around 9 seconds. This would have been gold, but Yeah, it wasn't. RNG happened. But we don't care. And the OP thing about the stock is that he's always running without a break, even with 0% on his energy bar. But it doesn't help us because we have to wait for the boy at this teleporters things. Anyway, so this is the last main trick in this game. It skips the whole Act 4, only the final boss. It's a 1 frame perfect trick and we got it. We only have 1 frame time to use the B button after switching to the boy. 1 frame. Can imagine what 1 frame is. It's like 60 frames per 1 second, so it's not that easy, but we got it. And with the dog we just run against the stuff because he's light speed running dog. And when they stopped and the boy automatically came, we can just switch back to the boy without getting blown away. So it's really important that the dog lives at the beginning of the final fight. And that's, by the way, the best music, so I won't talk here. It's epicness. After the 4th wave, we will kill the next 2 cleaning robots and another extra spider, because it's just faster to do that. And we're done. Time 1:21:21. That's good. Shoutouts to AGDQ. So that's it. I hope the commentary was good enough. I hope the English was good enough. I don't know. Hope you don't hate me. And yeah, we'll see again. And streaming will start beginning May. I guess like 10th May or something like that. So be prepared. and I hope you stay tuned. Have a nice day.